We mean an approach that accentuates the positive in change, really, and works on the understanding that change is an emotional process, and that while it can be driven by negative emotions, they're not sustainable over the long run. Whereas positive emotions like passion and joy and anticipation and excitement are much more sustainable as a basis for building change. More traditional ways of creating change tend to focus on what the current problem is and how to get rid of it, whereas an appreciative approach tends to focus on what's working at the moment and how can we grow more of it. So it kind of pushes the challenging issue or the problem out of the picture by creating and growing more of what the organisation actually wants. So you would turn it round. So if an organisation said, you know, the problem we have is that people don't work together in teams, then you would ask them, well, what is it you're wanting more of? What if that's what you don't want, what do you want? And they'd say, well, we want people to work together better over silo boundaries or across disciplines or whatever team working means to that organisation. And then you start to focus on, okay, so let's find out where that's happening, what makes it possible for that to happen, what are the features and factors that make a difference, and start to think about how we can develop more of those in our organisation so that we get more of what it is you actually want. It works better because it's a very psychological approach. So again, the traditional problem-solving approach is a very kind of rational, logical approach, which seems to suggest that emotion and human abilities don't really play a part above and beyond our problem-solving abilities. This appreciative inquiry, appreciative approach really recognises the psychology both of individuals and of groups and allows us to access all those resources such as people's, as I said already, people's emotions, their willingness to work together, their ability to be inspired by abstract concepts like values and aspirations, their imagination. So we encourage people to create very kind of rich pictures of how the future could be, how the organisation could be, that act as a pull. That's another thing actually, these kind of approaches, these appreciative approaches create a real pull towards the future, whereas the more traditional ones are often just a push away from the present, which only gets you so far. But this pull is a much more sustainable and much more motivating thing. And I think very particularly these approaches work with some key human emotions, two of which I would say are hope and optimism. And by building a sense of hope and optimism about how the future can be, you know, better than it is now, people start to become more willing to be motivated, more willing to engage with others, more willing to take a chance, be innovative, and so on and so forth. The basic premise is that words create worlds. In other words, the way we talk about the world creates the world in which we then live. It's essentially saying that it's really important not just what we talk about, but how we talk about it, because the things we talk about affect the world that we see. So to put it into more practical terms, if we spend a lot of time talking about problems, then we become very focused on problems, and therefore we will find problems wherever we go. If we start talking instead, for instance, about successes, and start looking for where do we find success in our organisation and how can we celebrate it, we will become more attuned to successes and notice them more often. And words are the kind of medium that help us to recalibrate that, so that we start to become attuned to the things we actually want to notice, like the good things, the positive things, the things that are working. So conversation and words are really important. And the conversational part is about the fact that when people start to do this together, then they're really starting to change their sense of the social world in which they live, and that's where change really starts.